Have you ever had days where everything feels heavy, not because something huge happened, but because you're tired of being the strong one all the time? Tired of holding yourself together while life keeps throwing challenges your way? This is where discipline becomes more than just a habit, it becomes the quiet force that protects your peace. Not the harsh, rigid discipline people fear, but the kind that steadies your mind when emotions run high, and keeps your life grounded when everything around you feels unstable. Today, I want to talk about how discipline can become the anchor that helps you stay strong, stay calm, and stay centered, especially when life gets hard. Sometimes life becomes overwhelming not because of one big event, but because the small pressures keep piling up until they feel impossible to carry. You wake up already tired, already stretched, already questioning if you have enough strength left for another day. And in those moments, your mind naturally spirals. It replays old mistakes, magnifies small problems, and convinces you that you're doing worse than you actually are. This is exactly where discipline steps in as a quiet anchor. It doesn't demand perfection, it simply offers structure when everything else feels unsteady. Something as simple as a morning routine, a 5-minute reflection, or a consistent sleep schedule creates a sense of control that your emotions can't give you. When motivation disappears, these small acts of discipline keep you grounded and help your heart slow down enough to breathe again. There are times when you don't need more motivation, you need protection from the emotional storms happening inside you. People often think discipline is rigid or harsh, but in reality, it is one of the gentlest forms of self-care. It protects your peace the way a fence protects a garden. Without discipline, emotional impulses make your decisions. You react quickly, get pulled into draining conversations, return to unhelpful habits, or stay in situations that steal your energy. With discipline, everything changes. You begin to pause before speaking, you recognize what crosses your boundaries, and you learn to walk away from noise instead of fighting it. You start choosing what strengthens your heart instead of what exhausts it. This is how discipline turns into emotional maturity, by giving you clarity where confusion used to live, and calm where chaos once controlled your reactions. At some point, you realize that a big part of your stress comes from trying to manage too many things at once: people, responsibilities, expectations, emotions. And when your mind is overloaded, even simple decisions feel heavy. This is where discipline becomes a filter. It teaches you to prioritize what actually matters and release what constantly drains you. Instead of saying yes to everything, you start saying yes only to what aligns with your peace. Instead of absorbing every opinion, you focus on what helps you grow. You learn to separate real responsibilities from noise disguised as urgency. And slowly, you feel lighter. You carry fewer emotional burdens because you're no longer trying to fix everything around you. Discipline teaches you the art of conserving your energy, protecting your mental space, and choosing commitments that build you rather than break you. There are moments when life pushes you to the edge: unexpected problems, disappointments, or the feeling that you're always giving more than you receive. In those moments, it's easy to let emotions take over. You snap, shut down, or fall into unhealthy patterns just to cope. Discipline interrupts that cycle. It gives you a moment of pause, a mental timeout where you can breathe instead of react. When you practice consistency, like daily reflection, journaling, a short walk, or even structured silence, you create emotional distance between the event and your reaction. That distance is where wisdom grows. You start recognizing what's actually worth responding to and what's better left alone. This is how discipline becomes a shield. It protects you from making decisions you'll regret and helps you stay centered even when the situation is not. It doesn't remove the hardship, but it keeps your heart steady while you move through it. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones happening inside you, fighting old habits, resisting temptations, pushing back against your own doubts. Discipline doesn't eliminate these battles, but it gives you a structure to face them with clarity. When you build routines that support your emotional and mental health, you reduce the space where negativity can grow. You stop relying on temporary motivation and start depending on steady habits that keep you grounded. Even simple practices, sleeping on time, limiting distractions, setting boundaries, become powerful acts of self-respect. They remind you that you control the direction of your life. And the more consistent you become, the more your inner strength grows. Discipline transforms your mind from reactive to intentional, helping you break cycles that once felt unbreakable. Life gets overwhelming when you keep trying to do everything alone or without a plan. This is when discipline becomes a form of emotional organization. It helps you create systems so your mind doesn't have to constantly carry the weight. When you schedule your day, define your limits, and stay committed to your values, you reduce chaos and increase stability. That stability creates peace. You begin to understand which tasks deserve urgency and which emotions simply need patience. You stop chasing everything at once and start choosing what aligns with your long-term strength. And with each consistent choice, you're not just becoming more disciplined, you're building a life that feels calmer, clearer, and more manageable. There will always be moments when people misunderstand you, underestimate you, or expect more from you than you have the strength to give. This is where discipline protects your peace by helping you choose responses instead of reactions. When you stay committed to your values, calmness, respect, boundaries, you no longer feel pulled into arguments or emotional traps. You begin to recognize that not every situation deserves your energy. Discipline teaches you to step back, breathe, and decide if engaging will help or harm your well-being. It becomes easier to walk away from negativity without guilt because you know you're choosing long-term stability over short-term emotion. With time, this emotional discipline makes you stronger, less reactive, and far more in control of your inner world. As life gets busy, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs while trying to keep up with responsibilities, people, and expectations. Discipline reminds you to return to yourself. It helps you slow down, reconnect with your priorities, and protect the habits that strengthen you. When you regularly check in with your own mind and heart, even for a few minutes, you release emotional tension before it turns into burnout. You begin to notice what drains you and what restores you. You choose healthier routines, healthier boundaries, healthier environments. Your days start feeling intentional instead of rushed. And as you become more consistent with these small acts of self-respect, you create a foundation where peace isn't something you chase, it becomes your natural state. So remember this. Discipline protects your peace. It's the anchor you build, the foundation you strengthen, the quiet promise you make to yourself when life gets hard. If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts below. How are you staying strong and healing today? You're not alone. You're growing. And you're stronger than you think.